Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Johnny Vegas Namer here with Ministry of Lacrosse, and we're live on YouTube. This also Google Hangout, live Google Hangout. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, the YouTube video page, you guys can chat, ask questions. And right now, let's bring on our guest, the MLL Commissioner, David Gross. How you doing?
Doing great, Johnny. How are you today?
I'm doing great as well. And we got some big things coming up in the MLL. I know that you guys are going to be announcing the place, the venue for the AllStar game, the city or state. I know there's many possibilities you guys listed on your Facebook page, and people are very excited. What can you give us a little hint? Don't give it away, but just get people hyped up about the announcement.
Well, I guess the easiest thing that I can say without giving it away is we do not currently have an MLL team in that market. We're going to this market to do test marketing like we've done with other All-Star games, in the past. So those that don't have a team can be on the lookout that we're coming to your neighborhood, hopefully.
That's awesome. And now I want to get the listeners to know a little bit more about you and how you got into lacrosse. We might have touched on that a little bit before, but why don't you talk a little bit about where you grew up, how you got into lacrosse, and long story short, how you became the MLL commissioner.
Sure, Johnny. So lacrosse kind of found me. I went to Lincoln Sudbury High School here in Massachusetts, and my first day of high school, the lacrosse coach came up to me. Before then I was just a soccer player, and he gave me a lacrosse stick and told me I was going to be playing lacrosse in the spring. And I was like, great. And so I tried out for the freshman team, and I was pretty awful. So they put me at defense, I just grew into the game and played at Lincoln Sudbury for my 4 years, and then played at Connecticut College for another 4, and started playing a bunch of club teams. And I went back to the old high school coach one day, a couple years out of school, and just said, hey, how do I give back to this program? Because it's meant so much to me, the fact that you put a stick in my hand. I kind of brought my checkbook thinking he was going to say, write a check. But he said, start a youth program. And, and because other towns are starting to do it. This is back in, I think, 1991. I said to him, I said, Coach, I'm not married, I don't have kids. He goes, don't worry about it. Some crazy parent will take it over from you in a year. And I ended up running that till Major League Lacrosse started. And that was the first year of youth lacrosse in Massachusetts that there was an organized league. And we had a total of 14 teams in the entire state. And we decided at the end of the year, wouldn't it be great if we got all 14 teams together to have this end of year jamboree. And I wasn't at that meeting. I was in the Far East. So they said, let's have Dave do it. And I came back and I was like, I don't have the time for this. And they said, don't worry. One of the other clubs will take it over from you next year. And no one ever really did. And I say this with no false modesty, but nothing to do with me. That event went in like 3 or 4 years from 14 teams to over 500 teams because youth lacrosse just took off here in Massachusetts. And I was running the event and got some great experience. And so when Major League Lacrosse started, the gentleman, Matt Dwyer, who was putting together an investment group for the Cannons, knew that I had been involved operationally and just reached out to me to see what I thought of the idea of professional lacrosse and did I think it could work. And I told him, no shot, save your money, but I'm heading away on a long trip. If you want to send me any materials that you receive from this league, I'll review it. And he gave it to me, and I looked it over for the trip, and I came back with tons of questions and comments for him. And I just kept taking meeting after meeting for him. And then eventually one day he gave me a business card that said general manager on it. So that's how I ended up in Major League Lacrosse. And I ran the Boston team for the first 3 years. And then I kind of got kicked upstairs to the league level at the end of 2003 and have been commissioner ever since.
That's awesome. And you're doing a great job. You guys are growing at a good pace. I know you guys are always focused on growing the game, growing the league at a level where you don't add too many teams too fast, where you run into a problem where like where you when the Riptide and Dragons and those teams, uh, you expanded pretty fast back then. But you guys are really focusing on picking markets and just like growing the game in that market until you build it to a point where they can have an MLL team and support it. I mean, look at the Denver Outlaws. I mean, they're killing it with like fans, and I mean they're doing a great job. And that's one of those teams from that original expansion. But yeah, you guys are doing a great job.
Yeah, I really think with Denver, you got to give the credit to the Outlaws organization and not so much the league. Mac Freeman and his crew, really from day one, they've been the model franchise in Major League Lacrosse, with really pushing the entertainment value and building that franchise up. They've made that 4th of July the biggest lacrosse event of the year, and all the credit really goes to those guys.
Yeah, and they're doing great. They won the championship in 2014, and I know that they're going to be fighting to win it, because especially since the Denver Broncos just won the Super Bowl, and I'm a Broncos fan, so I'm a big Denver sports fan in general. But yeah, what are your some of your favorite sports teams and other genres, any other sports, starting with NFL? Do you have a team you follow?
Absolutely. I've been a Patriots fan. I'm a bit of a homer, so I like the teams in my backyard. So I've loved the Patriots for years. It's pretty much the only sport that I can say besides lacrosse that I'll make appointment viewing for, even if I have to tape the game because I'm out or doing something. But I'll watch the Patriots, win, lose. Luckily, for the past 20 years, they've won a heck of a lot of games. So it's been a great
Yeah,
ride being a fan of theirs. Other sports, I used to actually be a very big Red Sox fan. In fact, I was a season ticket holder to the Red Sox for, I think, 21 years. And when I first started going to the games, I made I think about 35 games the first year, and it started dwindling down until the last couple of years where I was a season ticket holder. I didn't make any games. I was just giving away my seats.
yeah,
And I finally was just like, all right, I could put this money to better use, and just, you know, uh, gave up my tickets. And I can't honestly say I followed the team much since I stopped being a season ticket holder a few years ago. If I've watched 2 or 3 games, it'd be a lot. And it's not anything against them or baseball. It's just, you know, as you get older and you've got a family and work responsibilities, you just don't have much free time.
yeah. I definitely could see that. I mean, you're doing a lot of work for the MLL and lacrosse in general, and I mean, people might think that lacrosse MLL the season is from the start date and the end date, but it's year round. I mean, you're working on picking the AllStar. The place where the AllStar game is going to be. You're working on possible expansion teams. You're working on scheduling and a whole bunch of stuff and promoting, and I really value what you guys do for the sport of lacrosse. You guys are now going into, what is it, your 15th
16th.
or 16th year?
Yeah,
That,
number
that's
16 already.
incredible. That's awesome. And I really look forward to the 20th anniversary, and even further, and just seeing how far you guys have come each milestone. What are your some of your venue spots, cities, states that you're thinking of could be the next expansion team in the next 5 years, 4 years, 2 years?
Yeah, so we don't have much of a poker face when it comes to expansion. I think when people see us go play games, like be it All-Star or Championship in a market, they know that we're really targeting those markets for the future. So the fact that we've been to Texas last year, I think tips everyone off that between Houston and Dallas, we think both those markets have a lot of potential. We also want to get back out to the West Coast.
Yeah,
Southern Cal, Northern Cal, Seattle, and Portland. And I know Salt Lake City isn't officially on the West Coast, but when you live in on the eastern seaboard, anything past the Mississippi is the West Coast.
Yeah.
So we're looking at all those markets, and and we'll test other places. We'd like to see how we can do in Minnesota. Um, so I think Western is really where our focus is. Between Texas and then West Coast, and uh, those are the markets we really want to that we're eyeing as we grow from 9 to 16 teams eventually.
Yeah. And now, if let's say a team, you guys expand to, Southern California, I don't know whether it be Los Angeles again or San Diego or something, but uh, would you think that, I know you can't predict this, but would you guys think that you would try to revamp the old Riptide name and brand, or maybe start fresh and new?
Well, I think there's a lot of brand equity to the Riptide, but it'll really fall under whatever group, whatever investor group comes in to buy the team, what they want to do. You can make arguments both ways. Do you capitalize on the brand equity from the team, or do you start fresh? And we'll let them make that the decision. But that was a great logo that the
Yeah.
folks at AEG had put together for that team, and the team had a pretty loyal following as well.
Yeah. And
I
that
would say if
team,
we go back out west, would love to get there were some great guys at AEG, that were involved. GW Mix did a tremendous job as the team's GM. Would love to find a way to have him involved, and Sean Trell, who does his legal work for AEG, but was really involved in the team. Again, two great guys, two huge MLL supporters. I would obviously love to find a way to keep those guys, get those guys back involved in the league.
yeah. And no pun intended, get GW Mix back in the mix, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, well, the first game of the MLL season for 2016 is on the 23rd of April, right? Is that
Yeah,
correct?
it's right around. We're less than 2 months away from the start of the season, so it's exciting. Training camps will kick off, just over a month from now, and I think all the teams are geared up. Anytime you have an expansion, it changes the dynamics of the league, because players are obviously you get a lot of old faces in new places, so it's
Yeah.
going to be interesting. And I think Atlanta. I think they're going to be right in the mix right from day one, which is what's great about MLL, is that it doesn't take long for teams to be able to get there, because there's just so much talent that right now can't even
Yeah.
get on the field in this league.
Yeah. You're definitely right about that. And every time there's an expansion, I mean, that just opens the door for, I mean, however many people make it on the practice squad, and then the 23 final uh, roster, and the 18 that dress. I mean, I think I have those numbers correct.
Yeah, well, 19
Yeah,
that dress for a game. Yes, you're in the ballpark,
yeah.
Johnny.
Now, let's talk a little bit about something that you guys are associated with. You guys are associated with the LAC Sports Network, LSN. If you want, briefly, just talk a little bit about that, or and the partnership with the MLL.
Sure. I mean, listen. I think Lac Sports Network is the solution to the problem that the game has. It's been, very difficult for fans to really follow the sport. I mean, you can see highlights here and there, often highlights without any analysis. Lac Sports Network is basically your version of an ESPN for the sport of lacrosse. It's covering it 24/7. It's got some great shows on it, like Tilt and Flow, which is similar in vein to a Mike and Mike. You've got Lacrosse Now, which has got the daily news of the sport. They just had a tremendous game, Princeton versus Hofstra, that went to overtime, and the Stevenson game versus RIT, and you got a bunch more college games I know coming up this month, as well as you've got some of the top high school teams playing, and MLL will have not lot. We'll have a bunch of games live, but we'll have every regular season game at some point or another will be on the network, either live or tape delay, depending on who else is carrying those games. Um, it's had showcase tournaments. I know down at IMG Academy, they've had some events. So it's covering the entire sport, head to toe. Been a ton on the women's game. I mean, there's nowhere else where you can get this kind of coverage. And it's also pushing, helping push out what's on. It's the network's not trying to be the be all and end all. It's trying to tell you where you can watch lacrosse, where you can find out. So anytime lacrosse is on TV somewhere, it's promoting those games and trying to urge people to go. The goal of the network is get as more people watching the sport of lacrosse, and
Yeah.
it's doing well. And the reaction so far has been tremendous. With the shows like Greg Gorenlian doing face-off shows. I know Drew Adams going to start doing some goalie shows, and you've had Ty Zanders with his recruiting roundup, which everyone loves recruiting for some reason. So
Yeah.
I think it's a great piece for the sport, and I hope everyone who's ever picked up a stick will subscribe. It's only $7.99 a month, and I think you get your first month for free, and be a part of it, and you'll love it.
Yeah. And I do have to say, like, a lot of sports are going to that type of app, application. I mean, you've got the WWE network now. They went away from the pay-per-views, and then you've got the MLB network. I mean, they're still on TV as well, but I mean, you've got all these things. You got ESPN Go. You've got, I mean, it just goes on and on. I mean, there's a whole bunch of on-demand type of platforms, and you can watch live stuff on them. So I think you guys are doing a great thing here, and I'd love to see how much further it progresses, and great job with that.
Yeah, it's a bold initiative. It's a risky initiative, but again, I think the belief from everybody who's watched it is they see the potential in this, and they love it. And so again, the key is we got to get subscribers. We can't have people
Yeah.
sitting on the sideline for this one.
Yeah. And yeah, to everybody out there watching, that's a key thing. It's like, you guys say you want to grow the game, you want to help push the sport to the next level. Some people sit there and question, analyze, why the sport's not where they want it to be or something. But it's just a matter of stop analyzing without putting your foot forward and doing something. A subscription can help a lot, and then you also get to enjoy the entertainment from the Lac Sports Network. So not only are you helping to grow the sport, but I mean, and what is $7.99 a month? That's like a Happy Meal plus an extra set of fries. It's like, so you can go without that for a month. In my
Yeah,
opinion.
again, the price isn't the barrier for anyone to get involved with this. I think again, that's why the first month's free for a reason. It's so people can come and sample it. And if you find it's not for you, then cancel your subscription. What's been great is that we found that those that have subscribed are staying with it because they really realize how good the quality of programming is, and how it's something you can't get. And basically everyone in the sport, is on this network, as a guest. It's, you tune in each night and you're going to see the who's who.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And now, what is next for you? Are you going to be attending the first MLL game, or some of them, or what MLL team is closest to you?
Well, I live here in Boston, so obviously the Cannons are the closest, team to me. I bounce around, try and see, each venue during the course of the year. See how the teams are doing, chat with fans in all the different markets, and obviously go to the special events that we have as well. It's always exciting to be able to, to get out there and interact. One of the cool things about us finally having a team in Atlanta, we played 3 games in that market before putting a team there, and just was always bombarded by people saying, "Hey, how do we get a team? How do we get a team?" So again, very exciting that now we have one down in Atlanta because it really was so important for people to have one going there.
Yeah. And that team is, I definitely feel what you were saying before. I mean, they're right off the gate, they definitely have a chance to make an impact in the MLL, and we'll see, how that first game goes. And I think even if they got off to a rough start, they could pick it back up pretty quickly. They've got a great logo, great colors, the great players already that are on the roster. I know they're also holding their second open tryout on March 20 something. I know that, or it could be in the teen somewhere in March. They're holding their second tryout at their home stadium, which is pretty cool. And a lot of teams are doing these open tryouts now, which is pretty cool. I'd love to see all the teams eventually do it.
Yeah, no, listen, I mean, as we said before, there's so much talent out there in the sport, and there's so many guys that have developed after college that, a lot of the teams want to get a look and see, who's there, who's available.
Yeah,
And, because one of the great things about the pros, where you've been means nothing. It's what can you do for the team.
yeah, that's for sure. And like you said earlier as well, you always see some former professionals that were very good coming back to the sport. I mean, we've got Sean Lindsay was drafted in the supplemental draft by the Florida Launch, and you've got several other guys. And then you've got Joe Von Miller's making a return as well. We'll see how he does. He's always very upfront and honest with his fans, where he says, the final roster isn't out yet, but he is in the running for it. And it's very cool to see players, especially players that you love to watch in college. I mean, Joe Von Miller and Sean Lindsay were very good at Syracuse, and they did well in the pros as well. And I'd love to see them get back to that high level in pro lacrosse.
It's really cool to see these guys always battling to get on a roster, and then it's great to see guys that come out of nowhere. When you look at our college draft, you always expect a lot of the first rounders, and then you see guys in later rounds that really make an impact, and it's guys that just keep pushing, themselves and dedicating themselves to the sport, and it's great that they can be rewarded for it.
Yeah. All right. Well, you got any special events scheduled for the season? Anything you want to announce that you got that's going to be going on in the season that people could look forward to besides the games?
Yeah, I don't think I'm allowed to announce the stuff till the PR group's ready to release it. So they
Okay.
always blame me for being the leak here in the office.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm starting to keep my mouth shut a
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
bit more. But listen, it's going to be an incredible season. We're going to be taking the semifinals, and they're going to go on the road this year into markets where we don't have teams. So besides AllStar, you have that. We're really trying
That's
to
cool.
spread the MLL brand into new locations. And so again, it's going to be exciting. We think the future. We're very bullish on the future of the league, and we think having a platform like Lac Sports Network that can keep amplifying not just what's going on in the ML, but everything in the sport is just going to make this a better experience and be able to bring the fans closer to everything than ever before.
Yeah. And now, one more thing before we end, I wanted to ask your opinion about the new lacrosse video game made by Cross Studios and Big Ant Studios. It's called Casey Powell Lacrosse 16. It comes out March 9th. Have you heard anything about it? Are you excited?
I think a video game, a well-made video game can only boost the popularity of the sport. So obviously hoping for the best. I don't know much about the game itself. I have heard from some people who've seen either sneak previews or pieces of it that it's really cool. And so I think that's tremendous. And hope everybody, involved in the game, buys it or downloads it or whatever you have to do with it.
Yeah.
And those that don't follow lacrosse, hopefully it starts bringing, people to the game. I know it really helped increase soccer, FIFA soccer with their video game.
Yeah.
So
And Tony
the more,
Hawk skateboarding. Yeah.
yeah. So I think the more that stuff's out there, I think the better.
Yeah. All right. Well, everybody that's watching, I definitely thank you guys for watching, and make sure you guys share this video after the broadcast ends. The more shares, the more views, the more likes, the more publicity for the MLL, more publicity for Ministry of Lacrosse, and leave comments too. I'll respond to some of your comments, and feel free to ask questions for the next episode of Total Lacrosse with Jonny Vegas. I want to thank you, David Gross, for being on the show. You've always been a great guest. You've been on, I think this might be your 5th time or 4th time. But thank you very much for being on the show.
My pleasure. Anytime you want me, Johnny, I'll be happy to come on.
All right, cool. All right, everybody. Well, this is Jonny Vegas speaking, and I'm telling you guys to grow your game. Remember to grow. You got to get out there, coach, play, do whatever you have to do to grow the game of lacrosse. Until next time, everybody, happy lacrossing.